Welcome to another VCE Physics coaching video. I'm Phil Noonan, and today we're talking about key exam timing for the VCE Physics exam. Before we start, there's my contact details below. If you'd like some help getting your exam preparation finalised in regard to understanding challenging concepts or strategies for solving key problems confidently and quickly, or just general exam timing strategies, which is what we're going to look at today. So the examination is 2.5 hours is allotted, plus reading time. We might look at the reading time side of things first briefly. It's a great time to read through the whole exam. There's generally about 42 pages, and I encourage you to read through at least scan every single page, rather than get too bogged down trying to solve individual problems in your head, because the time will march on pretty quick otherwise. And it's great just to take a step back and look as if I can put it this way, as if you're just flicking through a magazine that you're interested in and just taking notice of the type of questions. For example, it's a great time to see if it's a generator question, electrical generator, that it is a generator and not a motor, and just that you're not going to go about it the wrong way, for example, as can happen sometimes. It's a great time in reading time to look at the graphing question at the end and see what that might be about and the style of graph that might be required. And just in general, looking at the kinds of problems, and your unconscious will be getting to work on strategies to solve those. And getting towards the end of reading time at 9:15, just have a tiny sip of water, maybe to stretch a little bit, and take a couple of deep breaths, and it'll all be good. And section A, I think nominally for the 2.5 hours, we could treat it as section A, half an hour, and then section B, 2 hours. So 1 hour followed by another hour for section B. Just looking at section A first. So nominally it's 20 marks multiple choice. So nominally questions 1 to 10 by the bottom of the first hour at 9:30 a.m. and then up to 9:45 for question 11 to 20. So that's all you got to do is fill in the computer input sheet for those. Don't have to write any working out, which you can do if it's going to be a help to you, all right? And it will be at times. Section A, generally, often the examiners do want you to pass, all right? They're going to give you plenty of questions which are accessible. You can generally count on one. I remember it might have been last year, there was question 4 was just a bit tricky on gravitational fields. But you'll get through it, and with practice, I find 9:35 is often a time you can be finished actually with a bit of practice, and you can take some momentum early into section B. So nominally 2 hours, but if you get a bit of an early start, you can move forward into section B. I find each half section B, one half can be a bit longer than the other, I've found. Might be a bit more challenging or a bit longer, might be the first half. You'll discover it, you'll see. And during reading time, have a note of how many questions there are. There's generally either 18, 19, or 20. And so you can split those in two. If it's 20, then it's 10 and 10 as a bit of a guideline. So you might just want to note where you want to be. By 10:45, you want to be, say, at question 10. Just one thing at this point I might throw in. I might mention this at the end. I'll just mention that after the second hour, that the final question relates to graphing or practical investigations. So if you can, we budget, say, half an hour for that. But if you're going well, you might get there a little bit earlier, which will be great. This involves manipulating a table of data, perhaps, or maybe you won't need to add data from the table. For example, there might be a column with some masses of washers where you've got to multiply through by G or something like that. But otherwise, you might just have to plot the data. So be aware of which columns you do need to plot and get the axis chosen correctly. If you can get the axes plotted, if you can get the axes set up with a scale, you can get the scale chosen correctly on each axis. I've found that we get a feeling that we're home and hosed by then, that all we've got to do is get that data plotted. Once those first data point or two gets plotted, we start to feel good about where we're at, because we know we're getting close to the finish. If you're running close to time, just relax. It's possible to get a real run on and finish with a flourish. But by the last 15 minutes, you can be analysing the graphs, and it might be either to find a gradient or area under a graph, or the intercept of a graph will yield some important information which we'll need to. So that'll be exciting to find out what that is this year. Now, what I was going to say was, if you want to get practice in finishing on time and in a good amount of time, is to do the same exam more than once. So do it, let's say you're doing last year's exam and you do it and correct it, and so that you're more confident with it, is to do the same exam again rather than do a different one, because you'll more than likely do it a lot more quickly and a lot more confidently. And it sort of tricks the subconscious, our subconscious, into the idea that we can get it done within a lot of time, even though it's not a different exam. Their subconscious doesn't know. It just recognises the feeling of doing it. It becomes normal for us. And things just seem to fall into place for us, getting exams done within exam time more regularly from that point forward. Just becomes the new normal for us. So keep that in mind. It's a great strategy. And on that, I want to share the story, maybe to finish, with a story of a famous athlete by the name of Sir Roger Bannister, who was the first athlete to break the 4-minute mile. And what he did to do it, a strategy he put into place, was to place some key runners, some colleagues, around the track at key points. And when he reached them, they would sprint off and he would have to keep up with them. And he did. And it worked. When he got to the end, the time was 3 minutes, 59 seconds and 0.4 of a second. And he was the first man to go under 4 minutes for the mile, something which 1,600 athletes since then have done. So I hope that helps. Drop some comments if you have found any part of this helpful, and let us know a comment if you have a strategy that's been helpful to you to stay on track. But sharing it actually just helps you even more to recognise it and to find it helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you found it useful and would like to be alerted for a future video. And again, here's my contact details. And to let you know, I'm running a webinar this Sunday that will go through the 2017 VCEA exam under exam timing and share strategies for getting full marks on key questions and general exam strategies. So I'd love to see you there if that will help you. Otherwise, see if you can schedule another practice exam or two. Which I appreciate it's a challenge, given you have so many exams to do. But in the meantime, thanks for watching today, and all the best with your physics preparation.